this conversation was I saw an old video resurface of you telling a story about Ari. Now, the story was cool, but because I actually know Ari, it was a little different, and I feel like our conversation could be a little different. Retell that story a little bit if you could.
So, the way I remember it, now mind you, we're in Maracaibo, Venezuela, I think. It's my second time playing with the VI national team. Some of my really good friends, like it was a blessing to do that. But we're in a game, probably second round, and I come down out of the air and really hurt my knee pretty good, or at least what felt like to me something that I had never really suffered before. So as the game wound down, I didn't get to finish it, and as we were hanging out in the village, it was clear to me that I wasn't going to play in the tournament anymore. And then the thought started to creep in whether or not I had really screwed myself up for my college season, which I transferred to FIU. So, Ari obviously was our trainer. I went to the training room. He started working on me, conventional type of stuff. And then, Ari had a bag of crystals around his neck that he took off and started to kind of rotate, if you will, from the string and let the bag kind of circulate around my knee.
Okay, stop. Pause right there. At that time, what are you thinking?
I'm assuming this is a PG show, so I can't get into exactly what I was thinking verbatim, but what I was thinking was essentially like, what the hell is going on? Because, it had been a while since I got any real treatment outside of the scope of a NCAA training room. Right. So clearly this was new for me.
Right.
So after the what the hell is going on, I clicked into like, yo, I'm gonna take any kind of help I can get, Rashidi. Like,
right.
This ain't feeling good, and if he knows something I don't know, keep it moving. Let's do this.
Right.
So, I went about my business. I think we got wrapped up. He put a wrap on me, sent me back. And I just remember the next day being like, man, this does not feel that bad. Like, I feel okay, but I'm not sure. And I'll be damned. I played the rest of the damn tournament. Ain't never had a problem with that knee, brother.
So, okay, and to clarify, no ultrasound, no stat and TENS units and none of that.
Could have been, okay? Because, like, again, I received, I think, a full smorgasbord of treatment from Ari. So there was definitely ice. I'm pretty sure I probably got some stim or some ultrasound. I'm not sure. But mind you, neither one of those things are going to, like, I've been injured, brother. Like, I played this for a long time.
Right.
A little bit of stim in a TENS unit is not turning you around to play no basketball tomorrow.
That's true.
So I could have received some of that. I probably did, but as of what? I guess I was 19 years old, man. That story just stuck with me in a way that like was pretty profound, bro. I was out there hooping, and I was pretty sure I was done.
All right. So now, not only did you play the next day in that tournament, you were concerned at one point about being able to play collegiately, and then the absolute improbable. Unless you know Roger Bell and the work ethic, you had a very long career in the NBA, man. To look back at where you ended up and that moment, talk about the journey in between.
Oh, man, it was, it was everything that people say a dream should be. Like, it wasn't all pretty. It wasn't all smelling the roses. Like, there were a lot of dumpsters. There was a lot of heartbreak. No, straight up. It was a lot of perseverance and looking somebody in the face when they tell you no, and being stupid enough to not believe them, and just trusting and having faith enough that even though they didn't see it in you, somebody else might. But ultimately, overall, big picture, I was a kid who had a dream, didn't really know how real the possibilities were at 6'5" and regular athleticism, but I lived it. And, I'm highly aware that not that many people get to do that. I'm very appreciative of it. And I try to tell my kids and other kids that are regular folks like me, you're not 6'11", jump out the gym or lightning quick. Like, hey man, you can figure it out. You gotta never take no for an answer and be willing to just work and sacrifice for whatever it is you want. That doesn't mean it'll happen, but it gives you an opportunity for it to happen for you.
All right, so now your first shot was with the 76ers, playing with Allan Iverson, who became a favorite for so long. People forget, like, he was kind of an underdog guy coming into the league. To play under him in terms of tutelage and to play with him in terms of a teammate and the mutual respect that you garnered, how did that help you moving forward?
Man, well, it's interesting, Rashidi, because like when I first got to the Sixers, I had been cut by San Antonio. I wasn't ready to really. I didn't understand.
Hey! Tim was sad about that. Okay, keep it.
My guy, man, they took care of me, but it was right. I mean, Pop and them made the right assessment. I didn't understand offense in a way that was going to allow me to fit into their system and help them. So I needed some more seasoning. But when I got to Philly, I knew I had this underdog mentality, and I knew I would scrap and fight and claw, but I didn't know if that was going to be enough. Like, I didn't know if you could survive like that. I know it had gotten me to this point, but I wasn't sure I could survive like that. And then I watched Chuck every day. And,
okay, whoa. Chuck is Allan Iverson, everybody, by the way.
My bad. Yeah, so I watched Chuck every day, clearly way more skilled and gifted with the ball than I was, but had a lot of the same type of personality traits.
Yeah, for sure.
Would fight you, would scrap, would claw, like didn't get it easy all the time. Just wore it all on his sleeve every night. Big bruises on his elbow, like burster sacks that were swollen 4 times over. And so it started to click like, well, I mean, he's doing it. It's just a better version of it. So maybe it can stick. And then, I just wore that on my sleeve every day in practice until they gave me a shot. Like, I guarded Chuck as much as I could. Marginal success at it in practice, but I just kept, it was like a Rocky movie, bro. Like, he had just, knocked me down and I'd be standing right back up again. You know what I mean? And then he'd drop another one and I'd be standing. And so finally Larry Brown put me in a game, it produced a little bit. Like, it was just a spark. Like, I didn't do anything great, but it was a spark. And I heard Allan say to him after game 1 when we beat the Lakers, like, where the F did you get this dude? And Larry Brown said to him something like he's crazy just like you, or something like that. It was cool, but it confirmed for me what I needed to be confirmed, which was you gotta get better, obviously. Like, we gotta continue to grow our game, but the nuts and the bolts of this is just being a competitor. Like, if you'll just compete and do that like an apex predator, man, you'll have a shot.
All right, so now you've moved on, and you are one of the best analysts that I've seen on television. Now, with that being said, clearly you could have been an ESPN analyst in my sight, but you kind of took a step back for fatherhood and bringing up these super athletes that you have. So talk about that, and talk about that sacrifice for your children.
Yeah, I mean, so I did have some opportunities with TNT and ESPN and some of those larger networks. My retirement coincided with my son going into kindergarten, and so I sat those 2 years and I just played golf. Really, I wasn't really trying to get back in the workforce, but I realized how special it was to be at everything. At the soccer games and the basketball games and the Christmas recitals, and like, it was all so cool. So as I started getting back in the workforce and little pieces of that got stripped away, while I had more dreams and I wanted to do other things, my greatest dream, the one I always had, was to have this family, right? And then watch my kids do it. So it never really was that difficult for me, Rashidi, because I just always weighed it against like, is it enough time with my family? Is it worth it, right? Like, and so sometimes the answer was yes, when the workload and the travel wasn't extremely taxing, and sometimes it was no. Like, I went back to Cleveland for that year, and it was so difficult for me. It was the old corny image of like kids in the window watching dad leave, right? And you're waving at the car, and that used to really tug at me in a way that made it clear moving forward that until they're of age where, they've accomplished or they don't want to be around me or I don't have, daily things to do with them, like they were going to come first. And, I lived my dream, right? Like getting to play in the NBA. The rest of those things can kind of wait until this time is passed because you don't get it back.
All right, now, in good parenting, you kind of let your children find their own path because one of your sons is a standout football player. How hard is that to watch him take those hits, and how good is he?
How hard is it? It's difficult to watch him take the hits, man. But he's learned how to navigate that pretty well. Dia was a really good, or it still is. I mean, he averaged 20 a game in high school this year basketball, but he just doesn't love basketball. And so the day he told me that in the backyard, that it lightweight broke my heart. But I had to understand like that this isn't my show. This is his show. You know. So if football is what it is, then I'll support that. I love football anyway. So Dia's a really good young player, man. He's a freshman. He's got a couple Division I football offers right now, and he
as a freshman.
As a freshman, and he sat behind the center this year, so not a ton of game tape. I think his his high school career so far, he's got 6 or 7 touchdowns. And but he's my son, Rashidi. I try to keep it humble, but if Dia wants to be, if Dia wants it and loves it and is willing to pour his heart into it, like, he'll play Saturdays at a pretty high level.
All right, now you were a warrior on the basketball court. Your mom was a warrior in the stands. Are you? What kind of parent are you, bro?
So my middle boy Ty. So in the football stands, I'm relatively chill, right? You're in this big old. Like, the coaches can't hear you anyway. And I've tried, so I know this, right? The coaches can't. So it don't make no sense to be out there yelling. Now my middle son Ty is a 7th grader. He played varsity basketball over at a really good high school here in town, and he's really tough. Like, he's a football basketball kid, but loves basketball. So he's just kind of the opposite of his brother. In those basketball environments, Rashidi, it's much harder for me to control myself. I get a little rowdy. Now, I ain't yelling at the coaches and stuff like that, but I am known to yell at an official occasionally.
No, I can't imagine.
Let the kids do their own thing. Like, I'm trying not to coach them at this point because they know what's going down. Mm-hmm. But I get a little heated. My competitive juices are flowing.
All right, it's still flowing, huh?
Yeah, they're still flowing.
One of the greatest competitors ever. So I got this question that hopefully we could insert into the Tim Duncan documentary. How old were you when you left home?
12.
All right,
yeah.
So 12 years old. I love the story that you tell of when you went to the States and you heard about this guy named Tim Duncan. Can you tell me a little piece of that story?
Oh, no question. I was going. I had started going to 5-star basketball camps, and I just started to take this thing kind of seriously. I was probably a junior, and now I'm starting to look at like these Street and Smith magazines and stuff like that to figure out the who's who of high school basketball. And I saw a name of a 6'11", 7-foot kid, and it was Tim Duncan. And I was like, what? I know that name. This is before I see the U.S. Virgin Islands, though. So, because I had swam on the Dolphins with Tim and Trisha and all of those folks. So I was like, but I know that name, though. And so, I dug into it a little bit more, and it said the U.S. Virgin Islands. And now I was really blown away because when I left at 12, Tim was at St. Dunstan's, and he was not like extraordinarily long at that point. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. Now I'm really trying to figure it out. So I don't know how I got to it, but it wound up being, obviously valid that was Tim Duncan, the one that I remember from swimming, in the Country Day pool. And he was now 6'11" and the best player in the country, or one of them.
And clearly at that point, you only knew him as a swimmer. You didn't know him as a basketball player at all.
In no capacity.
He said in no capacity.
No, because like I was at Good Hope, so like we would play their middle school team, right? Like, right. And mean, Tim's my guy, but I couldn't tell you I remember Tim from those teams. Like, I you know what I mean? I just didn't know he hooped.
All right, so now we talked about the probability of you making the league.
Yeah.
What about the probability of 2 Virgin Islanders playing in the Western Conference Finals?
I mean, the odds of that, I mean, shoot, man, I'm not an odds maker, but they'd be pretty daggone slim, man, for that to happen. And but I will tell you this, Rashidi, like, the more I was able to be around and play on those national teams and see the type of talent in our training camps and athleticism and grit and toughness that our athletes have from back home, it's not super surprising, like, because there's a wealth of talent there. Can you dig what I'm saying? But you know, the odds of it happening had to be super low. But as I got to know brothers and see the great players that were produced and were out playing at different colleges and pro in these different countries, like, it's not surprising. Odds definitely low though.
All right, well, Raj, I appreciate you for taking the time, my brother. When you were home, did you you know Iceman? David Iceman Bermudez ran basketball, real short guy.
No.
Okay, all right. I was wondering about that because we're going to bring back into neighborhood basketball, and Iceman was critical in that, and the fact that basketball has fallen off from where you know it at home. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to make a push and get these guys playing more games, and maybe even bring you down to do a little clinic or something. But brother, I love and respect you to the utmost, bro. So thank you so much for the time. I want Risha to meet you. Come around real quick, Risha. This man got things to do, golf balls to hit. And that's Yanka over there. Yanka, you could come say hello too. All right, so that's the great Roger Bell.
How are you, lady?
I'm fine. Nice to meet you. Hello. It's
nice.
a pleasure.
All right, now Risha's a big sports fan. I'm gonna let you ask one sports question to Roger Bell. Risha, no pressure. It's got to be good.
You know
Uh-oh.
I don't know. Oh, yes, I know.
How was it? I don't know if you ever guarded Kobe Bryant, but
He
clotheslined
Kobe Bryant.
Don't do that.
He did.
Oh yeah, you was.
Yeah, see?
I was a toddler when these stuff was happening, so it was.
Oh my! You just gonna offend me all the way around, huh? Like you just gonna offend me at every turn. You gonna ask if I guarded it and then say you were a toddler when I did it?
Yeah. Okay.
No, you're good.
No,
you're good.
Like when it happened at the time, I'm so sorry to like cut you off, but when it happened at the time, my dad was like more excited because we were like, I grew up in a Laker household, but when you started guarding him, my dad was like, "That's a Virgin Islander. That's a I'm like, okay, daddy, like what happened? But how was it like? Because I know he's very hard to guard. He was very hard to guard.
He was hard to guard because it wasn't just physical. It was really cerebral. So while he was really tough and much stronger than people know, and like he could jump out of the gym, I consider myself a smart defender, so I would do certain things or watch the film and try to take something away, and it wouldn't take him very long to understand what I was doing, and then he would counter it. So he'd just let me go for the little bit of bait, and then he'd be somewhere else. And so he was really difficult to guard because he changed almost every time you played him. He was a little bit different.
Okay.
We need him for
a great question. Good question, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, there, Risha. All right, man. Hey, so how is the golf game before I let you go hit these balls?
That is, listen, I'm a work in progress, Rashidi.
Okay.
It's a humbling sport, but I love it.
All right. Are you playing golf next week anytime between Sunday to Wednesday?
Sunday. No, weekends I can't get out, man. We could barely keep our head above water on the weekend. It's like 19 games per weekend, but maybe a Monday.
All right. I'm coming to look for you, my brother.
That's what it is.
I at least owe you lunch or dinner for this interview, so thank you, bro.
Baby boy, good to see you, man.
Always. Yes, the great Roger Bell. I call him Roger Rebellious. Oh, say hello, Yanka, quick before you go.
Yanka is looking at the other way of the screen.
It's like your first celebrity. All right, bro. Thanks, man.
Yeah, dog.
VI Stars, VI Music, VI Culture.
Yep, there's an app for that.
It's called Vivid Streaming, and you can download it in the app and Google Play Store.